Mataji. Seva viśvasya bhavān vidhatte guṇa-pravāheṇa vibhakta-vīryaḥ sarga-ādi anīho vidatte ātmeśvaro tarkya-sahasra-śaktiḥ. Mataji's. Word-to-word translation. Saha, that very person. Eva, certainly. Viśvasya, of the universe. Bhavān, you. Vidhatte, carry on. Guṇa-pravāheṇa, by the interaction of the modes. Vibhakta, divided. Vīryaḥ, your energies. Sarga-ādi, the creation and so on. Anīhaḥ, the nondoer. Avitatha, not futile. Abhisandhiḥ, your determination. Ātma-īśvaraḥ, the Lord of all living entities. Atarkya, inconceivable. Sahasra, thousands. Shakti, possessing energies. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. My dear Lord, although personally you have nothing to do, you have distributed your energies in the interactions of the material modes of nature. And for that reason, the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation take place. My dear Lord, you are self-determined and are the Supreme Personality of Godhead for all living entities. For them, you created this material manifestation. And although you are one, your diverse energies can act multifariously. This is inconceivable to us. Purport. The statement made in this verse by Devahuti that the Absolute Truth has many diverse energies, although he personally has nothing to do, is confirmed in the Upanishads. There is no one greater than him or on an equal level with him, and everything is completely done by his energy, as if by nature. It is understood herein, therefore, that although the modes of material nature are entrusted to different manifestations like Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, each of whom is particularly invested with different kinds of power, the Supreme Lord is completely aloof from such activities. Devahuti is saying, although you personally are not doing anything, your determination is absolute. There is no question of your fulfilling your will with the help of anyone else besides yourself. You are, in the end, the Supreme Soul and the Supreme Controller. Your will, therefore, cannot be checked by anyone else. The Supreme Lord can check others' plans. As it is said, man proposes and God disposes. But when the Supreme Personality of Godhead proposes, that desire is under no one else's control. He is absolute. We are ultimately dependent on him to fulfill our desires. But we cannot say that God's desires are also dependent. That is His inconceivable power. That which may be inconceivable for ordinary living entities is easily done by Him. And in spite of His being unlimited, He has subjected Himself to being known from the authoritative scriptures like the Vedic literatures. As it is said, Shabda Moolatvat. He can be known through the Shabda Brahma or Vedic literature. Why is the creation made? Since the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for all living entities, He created this material manifestation for those living entities who want to enjoy or lord it over the material nature. As the Supreme Godhead, He arranges to fulfill their various desires. It is confirmed also in the Vedas, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidhatte Kaman. The Supreme One supplies the necessities of the many living entities. There is no limit to the demands of the different kinds of living entities, and the Supreme One, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, alone maintains them and supplies them by His inconceivable energy. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So seeking the blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas, and so we can say something that's of relevance. So first, we'll discuss about why is the creation made, as Prabhupada is pointing out here in the purport. And oftentimes, people ask this question to us on book distribution. They say, if there is God, then why did He create such a world which is full of suffering and so many problems? And actually, yes, God created the world, but that's not the first step. That's the second step. The first step is that the living entity desired. And Prabhupada is pointing out here, is that the living entities, desire of the living entities to enjoy or lord it over is not going to happen in the spiritual world. There's only one boss, Krishna. So since living entity, all of us wanted to be the boss, so then Krishna said, okay, we can provide you a separate facility where you can try to be the boss. So just like the little child, Prabhupada would give the example, who wants to drive a car. And so he's a little child, but he wants to drive the car because he sees father is driving the car, mother is driving the car. I also want to drive. I'm also a big boy. And father said, no, that's not a good idea. But he said, no, I really want to drive. So what the father is going to do is going to get him a little toy car, or like take him to the park, and you have this little car with little steering, and the child feels like he's driving. But the car is completely not in his control. It's controlled by the many different other factors. And child gets this feeling, gets a sense that yes, he's driving, that yes, he's enjoying. So similarly, Krishna creates this material world for all the living entities, for all of us, so we can try to be the controllers and the enjoyers. And that's why we can see in this world, everyone thinks themselves to be the center of this world, center of the universe. We think that everyone should be serving us, everyone should be acknowledging us for all the good qualities that we have, that no one should be speaking anything negative about us, that everyone should be facilitating our plans for enjoyment and happiness in this world. So in that way, we are all thinking that this world is for me, because that was the original idea that the whole material creation itself started. But here is the difference between the individual living entity and the Supreme Person, and that is that one is completely dependent on the other. So here Prabhupada gives example of Eko Bahunam, or quotes the verse, Eko Bahunam yo vidhatte kaman, is that there's many desires of many living entities, but Eko Bahunam is that one person who is fulfilling the desires of many living entities, Bahunam. So that is the difference between individual living entity and the supreme living entity. So through logic, sometimes people try to infer that, okay, well, we are dependent on the nature for our fulfillment of the desires. So maybe the Supreme Lord also is depending on someone. And so Prabhupada, in the first paragraph of the purport here, he points out this very important fact, that Krishna is not dependent on anyone. He's completely independent. So all the various energies that he possesses, they are working for him, getting the job done for him. So that's why this verse, Prabhupada, in the very start, he says that Absolute Truth has many diverse energies and he personally has nothing to do. That's confirmed in the Upanishads. So the verse that he's referring to is Parasya-śaktiḥ vividaiva śrūyate svabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. So he says that Parasya-śaktiḥ vividaiva śrūyate. So there are many different energies, there are multifarious energies, and they're constantly working to perfectly execute what Krishna would like. And Krishna doesn't even have to tell those energies what they need to do or what will make them happy. The energies know exactly what to do. And they do it exactly how it needs to be done for the pleasure of the Supreme. And so therefore, all that is done exactly by His will, without Him having to exert Himself. So this is very, very powerful. This is very, very special. So that is the reason why we can say that there is, Prabhupada saying that there is no one greater than him or on an equal level with him. There is no competition for Krishna. It's not that in material world we have the competitions and the top person is always afraid that the next person is just coming right next to me. Okay, I should roll up my sleeves. I should really perform now because the other person is going to overtake me any moment. And that's the greatest fear. But there is no such competition with Krishna. We are not even close. So that's the nature of the Absolute Truth. And so here, we can see how Prabhupada is explaining here the supremacy of Krishna. And he's saying that, just like the mundane person, he may think that everything in this world is happening by the nature. The sun is rising and setting, day, night, different seasons, it's all happening by material nature. But someone who is a little bit more educated, they can see that, well, actually it's not automatically happening, but there are demigods who are in charge and who are making it happen. So here Prabhupada is pointing out the Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva for the purpose of creation, maintenance, destruction. So these living entities, these personalities are in charge of these functions. But someone who has higher knowledge, they can see that, well, it's not just the nature, it's not happening automatically. It's not even happening by the supervision of the demigods, it's actually happening by the will, by the desire of the Supreme Lord. It's actually everything happening by the desire of the Supreme Lord. Just like we say that not even a blade of grass moves without the desire of God. So it's not that Krishna is just constantly saying yes, 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 no, 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 later, now. He's not like all the time like anxious, like, okay, now that blade of grass can move, that one shouldn't move, this person should stay, this person should go. No. He's not doing it for 8 billion people and all the living entities in this world. His energies are completely in charge of doing everything. Just like in a big corporation, in big companies, we have many different departments and many different in charges of the departments. But the owner of the company, he only counts money at the end of the day. He's got no anxieties of staffing and moving things around too much. He's just enjoying. So Prabhupada tells once a story of one time a person who went to a German who went to India in the search for God. So he said, okay, India is a very religious country. Maybe we should go, we should find out who is God. So he goes and goes to all these different temples. So first he goes to the temple of Durga. And there he sees that this Mother Durga, she has a trident and she has her one step on this demon, Mahishasura. And she is poking with this trident, she is poking all these demons around him, and she has a skull garland around her. So whoa, okay, sure. So then everyone is offering their obeisances, their prayers to Durga, so he kind of ritualistically does that and moves on. Then next, he goes to the temple of Lord Shiva. And what is Lord Shiva doing? He's sitting there, he's meditating. He's meditating. And he also has a trident, and he also has a snake around him. All these, many of the ghosts are sitting around him. So, okay, that's interesting. So then he offers his respects, he moves on. Then next he goes to the temple of Hanuman. And what does he see Hanuman doing? Hanuman is flying, and on his hand he has a whole mountain. Yeah. He says, wow, that's interesting. So then he offers his respect, he moves on. So like that, one by one, he's going to all these different gods and goddesses, temples. Goes to Krishna temple. What is Krishna doing? Krishna is standing there, playing flute. There's a girl standing next to her. Okay, that's interesting. Offer respects, moves on. So like that, he goes to all these different temples. Temples of Vishnu, temples of Lord Ram, temples of all these different other incarnations as well. So then finally, after the whole journey, then his friends, they ask him, so okay, so you went to all these different temples, you saw all these cultural presentations, so now what's your conclusion? Who is God? So this person, he had just gone to the temples. He had not read a book. He had not spoken to a person in the whole traveling. He's just exploring that himself. So the end, when he was asked, okay, so what's your conclusion? Who is God? He said, well, actually, I went to all these different temples and I saw all these different altars and they were all very beautiful. But he said, my conclusion is that Krishna is God. So his friend was impressed. Okay, how did you come to that conclusion? He said, well, actually, I saw that all these different personalities and they were very powerful and very beautiful, effulgent, very strong. He said, but one thing that I noticed in all of them is that they all had like weapons, they all had like animals, they all had like different things going around them. And I noticed that they had like an function to do. They had an activity to perform. You know, someone was flying with a mountain, someone was meditating, someone had a bow and arrow, someone had a trident. So they all had some activity, some function to do. Basically, Krishna was the only person who had nothing to do. He was just standing there with his flute and girlfriend, like completely not bothered least about what is going on around him. So therefore, he said, I can conclude that he must be God. Because he's the only person who doesn't have anything to do. And that was a perfect conclusion. He came to a completely right conclusion that is the Supreme Person, is Krishna, is the only one who doesn't have anything to do. Even his different incarnations are doing something. But Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He's the perfect and complete. So in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which starts with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya yata Anvayat Itaratas Charthesu Abhigya Swarat. This Swarat, he is the supreme person who is completely independent. The Prabhupada writes in the word-to-word translation, he says that he is independent because there is no cause beyond him. He is the supreme cause. And Prabhupada explains how the greatest living entity in this universe, Brahma, down to a small ant, they are creating something. They are always busy creating. But for all their creations, they are depending on the Supreme. Whereas, so they are depending on Supreme. And so therefore their abilities, their qualities, they are all coming from the Supreme. They are depending on Krishna. But Krishna is existing independently. So therefore, he explains how there are relative truths. Everything is related to the Supreme. The Supreme is absolute. Is that everything is depending. Just like the flower is beautiful now, but it wasn't beautiful yesterday, and very unlikely to be beautiful tomorrow or the day after. So it's relative. It's true, it's beautiful, but it's relative truth. But Krishna is beautiful all the time. So that's an absolute truth. So in that way, everything depends on Krishna. So therefore one time there's a pastime of Prabhupada, and the disciples would always introduce some great or famous persons to Prabhupada, and so they brought this very big industrialist to Prabhupada and introduced him. The Prabhupada, he's such a big person and he's coming to temple. So Prabhupada said, oh, okay, very nice. He said, so what do you do? He said, I have a company. He said, we manufacture glass. He said, oh, you manufacture glass? He says, where does the glass come from? So he said, yes, Prabhupada. He said, glass actually comes from silicon, which comes from sand. He said, okay. And and where does the sand come from? So this industrialist was pious. She said, well, actually it comes from God. So Prabhupada said, oh, so you're stealing from God and you're making money? He said, so therefore you are a thief. So all the disciples were shocked that, oh no, the Prabhupada, don't say that. He's a big industrialist, he's a big person, and Prabhupada just put him on the spot. He said, so you are a big thief. You are stealing from Krishna and you're making money. But the way how he said that, the industrialist, that he started laughing and Prabhupada started laughing, but all the devotees, they became nervous, So they said, Prabhupada, but he's giving donations to temple. He said, oh, you're giving donations to temple? Then you're a little thief. But Prabhupada wouldn't let him off the hook. He said, well, actually, you're depending on Krishna. So he wanted to make sure that devotees understand that, and the person understands that actually we're depending on Krishna for everything. So here, coming towards the conclusion, Prabhupada writes in the purport that even though Krishna is inconceivable, Krishna is absolute person, Krishna is inconceivable, Krishna is supreme, still he can be known through the authoritative scriptures like the Vedic literatures. So that's amazing, because we are not just some passive appreciators. We are not just appreciating Lord passively, but we actually try to actively serve Him and connect with Him. And in that way, by devotional service, by studying the scriptures, by engaging in other devotional activities of chanting, honoring prasadam, associating with the devotees, and many different services that we have available, is that one can actually understand the Supreme, one can understand Krishna. as long as one is not envious. So many people could actually appreciate that Krishna is absolute, Krishna is supreme. Kamsa could appreciate that, or the demons could appreciate that, but that wasn't enough. Because even though they knew that Vishnu or Krishna is the supreme, is great, what was the final conclusion? That if he is great, then I must kill him before he kills me. Even though he is the supreme, still I must kill him before he kills me. So, even though they had the knowledge, the conclusion was upside down. So, when devotees, when we engage in the devotional service, then we can come to the right conclusion that Krishna is the supreme and that we need to engage in his service, and in that way we need to try to serve him and please him. So, as the last point that I was meditating on as part of being in this temple, I'm just visiting here, and it was very special to see the devotees, the mood that devotees have of sharing this knowledge, sharing this literature, Vedic literature, these books. Through book distribution, actually when we are studying these books and when we are distributing these books, which is what my spiritual master says is the company culture, is that we read these books and we distribute these books. So as we connect to this company culture, as we do this more and more and more, actually this knowledge becomes revealed to us. And devotees start to understand this, because I remember I read Bhagavad Gita 1 or 2 times and it didn't really make much sense to me. A lot of things were still quite far out. But then the devotees engaged me in some book distribution, said, why don't you just take some books out and distribute? And when I finally started distributing them, because it's a direct service to this transcendental literature, so by engaging in the service, actually this knowledge became revealed, and the books and the knowledge started to make sense. So this is a great opportunity that devotees and temples are giving us. So if we take this opportunity and we take it seriously, the books, by reading them on a regular basis and by distributing them, then, as Prabhupada is saying here, the Shabda Moolatvat is that he can be known through the Shabda Brahma or Vedic literature. So Krishna becomes revealed, and as devotees, we start to understand him more and more. So with that, I'll finish. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And if there is any comments or corrections, any questions.
Thank you, Prabhu, for very sweet, very nice class, nice presentation. In the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that Krishna's desires cannot be checked, so what he wants ultimately gets fulfilled. So the jivas are not like that. Our desires are being fulfilled by Krishna. So since Krishna's desires are fulfilled, and he wants us to go back home, back to Godhead, so that means that we all gonna go back home, back to Godhead eventually?
Yes, so it's a nice question, because Krishna's desire is that we all should go back to Godhead. At the same time, many of us don't have the same desire.
But Krishna's desire supersedes our desires.
Yes, his desire supersedes our desire. At the same time, his desire is that he doesn't want to interfere with our desires. So therefore, he lets us have our own desire and lets us try to fulfill our own desires, and tries to, he lets us, like the small children, it's very hard to contain them. So there was once for Prabhupada's son, and he wanted to stick his finger into the fan and his mother was constantly stopping him from doing that. And child was, no, I want to stick my finger in the fan. I want to see how it feels, the fan is rotating, and I want to make that sound. Many of us tried that as children. So his mother was constantly stopping him, and he was fighting. So there was an argument, and Prabhupada heard the argument. He said, "What's the noise? What's happening?" And so she explained that he wants to stick his finger into this rotating fan. And Prabhupada knew that he's not going to listen. He wants to do it, he will do it. So Prabhupada said, okay, why don't you unplug the fan and let the fan slow down a little bit, and then he can stick his finger. So when he unplugged the fan slowed down a little bit, and the child stick his finger, and as soon as he stick his finger, and there was like a tuck, there's a noise, and he understood, oh, that's risky. But it didn't really hurt him too much. So, but it hurt him a little bit, and it gave him a lesson. So similarly, Krishna creates this material world, which is dukhalayam shashvatam, and an intelligent person, after a while, he will understand that this is actually not working out, that I need to find out what else can I do. So he learns this lesson. So Krishna is providing the facility, and he's giving us also the knowledge, so we can come out of that. So that's his will. Means like every company has a culture. So like Apple has a culture that the customer service should always be the topmost. No matter what, the customer should always be happy. So different companies have different culture, and all the employees of the culture try to align themselves to that culture. And the more you align yourself with the culture, the more the company flourishes. And the more the employees kind of have their own individual ideas and plans and desires, then it becomes very fragmented, and the company doesn't actually progress. So the executives of the company, their role is that they make this culture known to people, to others, that this is what we are aiming for, this is what we want. And let's try and come together to serve this one common goal. Let's not try and have like 100 things that 100 people trying to do, and that nothing, it's all half done. So it's like, let's all try and do one thing properly, and in that way we move in the fastest way in the direction we want to go. So Prabhupada made it very clear that everything is in his books, and one who reads his books actually would eventually take up to Krishna consciousness, and we have seen so many examples. So Prabhupada said that by reading the books they will stay, and by distributing they will stay happy. So so yeah, that's the idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. At the beginning of your class, you were mentioning that Krishna does not depend on anyone, which is totally correct also. I just wanted to mention the other angle, where he mentions that he's under the control of his devotees. In fact, I depend on my devotees. And why he's doing that? That's referring the 9th canto, talking to Dvijamani, where he mentions that because my devotees are devoid of material desires, I see it within the heart of my devotees. They control me. And why is that? Because they are devoid of material desires. And not only my devotees, but the devotees of my devotees. Aham bhakta paradino hyasotantra ibadya sadhuvir grasta hidayo Sadhuvir Sadgasta Hidayo Bhaktar Bhaktar Jana Priya. So that, is the other side, that he doesn't depend on anyone, but he does depend on his pure devotees. It's just...
Yeah, just like the Prime Minister, the President of the country, is the topmost person, but is controlled by his wife, or controlled by his child. So, yeah, because of love.
That reminds me that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was planning to go to Vrindavan, he will have to ask his devotees, and they will give him arguments why he shouldn't go. Just wait. And then when that time came, they will figure out other ways how to hold him back, out of love, of course.
But still, when time comes, then Mahaprabhu will just leave. He will turn around and just leave. He's completely independent. Yes, Prabhu had something.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you very much. I like your point about company culture, because it's so important that the Krishna culture of distributing Krishna consciousness and civility in society is propagated, because right now the culture in the world and in so many societies and so many companies is to take away the humanity and rights and protection that should be there, which should be offered by an honest government and an honest ruler. And in the Bhagavatam, it's so clear who these honorable people were, like King Yudhisthira and Maharaj Bharat. And it's in the absence of that, we have a great responsibility in this Krishna consciousness movement to spread the proper company culture.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Definitely, I'm 100%, with that statement that Prabhu made. But I was just thinking about also another point, so important, because prachar, and achar and prachar has to be there. And why am I saying that is because the knowledge in the books is there, and the devotees who distribute these books, and the responsibility of everyone is to actually, behave properly sometimes, unfortunately. I'm saying that because a few times, and I met, even yesterday in the big festival, someone who just giving some points about someone who's many years.
That's the reason why we read these books. We can learn the culture, and we can obviously follow. That's the reason why reading the books is equally important as distributing them, and that's why. But we are all work in progress. So it's hopefully as we continue to associate with advanced devotees that we learn from our mistakes. So but thank you very much. I'm going to finish there. Thank you, Hare Krishna, and very grateful to all the senior Vaishnavas and their association here. It's a lot to learn from them. Hare Krishna. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.